New videos every day.
Today I want to talk about birth control pills. I want to talk about how they affect sex drive. That's something that we've mentioned in past videos, and I just wanted to clarify things a little bit more. Birth control pills, if you didn't realize it, are currently used by about 80% of females out there. In fact, 80% of the females in the United States since 1945 have used birth control pills for controlling pregnancy. So it's a real prevalent thing in childbearing years to use this. It's very convenient. We have to understand that it probably is the most convenient thing that we can use, or that women can use, in order to avoid pregnancy. But it also has some problems of its own. First of all, we talk about hormones, and we talk about using bioidentical hormones. There are no bioidentical birth control hormones. We have to use synthetic hormones for the birth control pills. So there are some problems with using these non-identical hormones as opposed to what we can do with something that's closer to what occurs in a female's body. That can cause problems such as decreased sex drive. The birth control pill helps a woman avoid pregnancy by controlling the cycle of ovulation. You basically stop a woman from having an ovulation or an egg occur, so it can't be fertilized, and so we can stop pregnancy from occurring. That's handy. But with the use of the birth control pill, we find a high incidence, a loss of sex drive. In other words, we find a high incidence of a loss of enjoyment of sex. Many women just have sex in order to please the man or the other person that is their partner, and they don't do it for their own enjoyment. They just do it because perhaps they feel it's their duty, and a lot of women miss out. Birth control pill could be the reason that they're not enjoying sex. It can have to do with not being able to lubricate the vaginal opening. It can have a lot to do with not being able to have the hormonal balance that gives you the pleasure. So if you're going to use birth control pills, you have to keep in mind that this could be part of the problem. First of all, birth control pills either balance or even decrease the amount of androgens, so testosterone and hormones that cause you to have sex drive and will lubricate the vagina and make sex more enjoyable, are reduced by the estrogen. The other thing that estrogen does is increases the amount of what's called sex hormone binding globulin. Now, this SHBG binds to hormones, especially testosterone, and doesn't allow the testosterone to work. So it's almost just like not making enough. You don't have enough available and active. So these two things, either not making enough or having it bound to something that makes it inactive, means that you don't have enough of the hormones that are going to give you sex drive. So there's a direct effect there. There are some recent studies that show that women on birth control pills have a very decreased sex drive. They still engage in sexual activities, and there are women that can still enjoy it, but probably for most women, if not all, that enjoyment and that need to initiate sex is reduced by the fact that they're on the pill. The real problem is not only a loss of sex drive, but the fact that they're now seeing there are some permanent changes. So you get on the birth control pill for a short time, and then you get off. And in the past, it was assumed that once you got off the birth control pill, you would return to the same point. But what we're finding with many medications and many other things that we do with the human body is the body changes along with what you do to it. So set points change. The body actually adapts to the situation. In other words, you're on the birth control pill and then you get off. Your body doesn't return to where you were. Your body, in a sense, stays where it is. So this loss of sex drive and this inability to enjoy sex and just basically loss of some function because of hormones is almost a permanent alteration. The body can return in time, hopefully, but they're finding more and more that there are some permanent changes. The same occurs with other hormones. The same occurs with other medications. The body adapts and becomes dependent, and it becomes a somewhat permanent change. So be a little bit careful with birth control. If you can use other methods, there are some other methods available, but I understand if you want to use birth control, it's just very convenient. Realize, though, that you may be permanently altering your sex drive and your sexual performance and your sexual enjoyment. The other thing you have to realize is that estrogen as a hormone can cause weight gain, it can cause swelling and tenderness, it can even cause perhaps heart disease, stroke. There are a lot of problems with hormones. It doesn't mean we can't use hormones, but like I mentioned first, the hormones that are used in the birth control pill are not bioidentical hormones. They're not naturally occurring or at least similar to the naturally occurring hormones. And therefore they have many of the problems that have been found with hormone therapy, especially estrogen. So we have to be a little careful with the use of the hormones. Also the progestins, which is synthetic progesterone that is often used along with the estrogen, can cause many problems on its own. The synthetic progesterone is in many ways dangerous to the body, whereas natural progesterone can be very beneficial and doesn't cause as much harm. So these are things to consider. If you're going to use hormone therapy, affecting one hormone, in a sense, affects all hormones. You've affected thyroid, you've affected insulin, you've affected every other hormone when you start taking one. So just use some good judgment and be careful when using hormone therapy, even if it's simply for birth control. This is Dr. Vincent Bellonzi, and we'll talk more about problems with female sex drive.
There are over 350 videos on our channel, and I doubt you've seen them all. And the topics range from weight loss, nutrition, sexual health, all the way to psychology and mind control, and anywhere in between. And I think if you check them out, you're going to find some really interesting stuff.